NANI?!
Dude, I've been waiting on you.
Oh, yo, what's up, man? How you been?
Where the heck have you been?
Yeah, I know. It's been a hot minute since I've been in here. Look, I'm back. I'm feeling rejuvenated, energized, and ready to start doing some more content.
Well, look, dude, I'm just happy you're back in the check, because it's been at least a good 2 months since you've done anything.
Yeah, man, I'm good. I got myself together. Got a lot of things going on, so I'm just glad to be back.
Well, cool, man. I'm glad to see it. So you got something new cooking up for us?
Yeah, man, I got a new Dreamcast video I'm doing. It's a top 10 video for all the retro fans out there.
Man, that should be dope to see. Man, let me check it out. Let me see what you got going on. I'm just for the occasion.
Oh, don't worry. You're going to see it just like the rest of them. I can't be having you spoil everything, because every time I tell you something, you got to just decide to spoil it. So you're going to see it just like the rest of the people.
Alright, whatever. Hey, look, let's just get the show on the road, you know what I'm saying?
And without further ado, your boy Game King's back with another video. Let's get it rolling.
Number 10.
Now, dropping in first on this list at the number 10 spot is a game that is critically acclaimed upon its first release and is still regarded as one of the best games for the system. This is called Skies of Arcadia. Now, this game was released back in the year 2000 and it was developed by Overworks and published by Sega. Now, it's a role-playing game where you take control of the character by the name of Vice and you control his young pirate crew that goes on this adventure to stop the Valiant Empire from achieving their goal of gaining these ancient weapons that will pretty much destroy the world. So, normal cliche story that we used to get back in the day on all types of other games. In this game, being as a JRPG, of course you're going to see different battle mechanics like turn-based systems and gaining experience points in every battle that you're in. But the biggest focus that they wanted to put into this game was having exploration, where you take control of an airship and flying it through 3D space, which made the game that much more fun and interactive. Now, the development team behind this game also worked on games such as Panzer Dragoon, Phantasy Star, Sonic the Hedgehog, and even Sakura Wars, so you knew the game was going to be good with that type of staff behind it. The game's overall story was very good, the cast of characters were just colorful, and it made you just get into the game that much more, and the game was just fun to play. But it didn't really do well commercially just due to low advertisements. But the game didn't stop getting ported when it got put to the GameCube, and the game was called Skies of Arcadia Legends that was released back in the year 2002. Now, the game has some extra features in it and some different mechanics, but to me, in my regard, I think the Dreamcast version is just the better version to play at. And of course, being that it's original, I'm a guy who likes the original copies. If you're trying to get this into your collection, it will set you back a pretty penny. Nowadays, going complete in box goes for about 130 bucks or so if you find on eBay or any other type of website like that. And if you're looking for it brand new, it's gonna set you back about $315. So make sure you got the guap to get that game into your collection if you really want it sealed. The game is still highly sought after, and I know a lot of people are going to try to find this game nowadays, and it's going to look like it's going to keep going up in price. So if you like JRPGs, make sure you get this one into your collection. Don't miss out on something that was truly special back in the day on the Dreamcast.
Number 9.
Now, you can't have a Dreamcast game list without having a 3D fighting game on it, especially one coming from Capcom, and this one takes up the number 9 spot. This is called Tech Romancer, and this was a 3D fighting game that was originally released in the arcades back in 1998, but it was then ported over to the Dreamcast console in the year 2000. It drives heavy inspiration from mech animes like Gundam, for instance, so you're going to be seeing nothing but robots beating the junk out of other robots. I mean, what's more to ask for? Studio New also came in to help design the robots for the game, so you're going to be seeing some unique and different designs for each of the robots and their fighting styles. The setting in this game takes place in the far future of Earth, where technology has greatly made some strides and just gave a unique calmness to the Earth. But in normal fashion that the games used to be back in the day, an evil tyrant by the name of Goldabust, if that's how I'm going to say it correctly, invades the planet and tries to conquer the world. And it's your duty with different robots to help stop that from happening. Tech Romancer has 2 unique game modes you can play in, Story Mode and Hero Challenge Mode. But in the Dreamcast version as well, has different mini games on your VMU that you can use to unlock points to unlock the different characters. In story mode, each of the robots have their unique story that are kind of broken up into like anime episodes, where they also have dialogue options before and after each of the battles. Depending on which you pick will depend on different paths that you'll take, and also unlock different endings for all the different robots that you'll be playing as. And in Hero Challenge mode is like an arcade style where you're able to go up through the ranks, beat all the different bosses and the mech robots that you'll be fighting against, which will also allow you to gain points in the game to unlock different characters, including the boss characters and the different movies in the game as well. Now, this game is really, really good. I think it's very fun for a lot of different people, especially if you just like, well, 3D fighting games with robots in it that can beat the crap out of each other. And this game was also considered the 4th most successful arcade game of the week back in 1998 in Japan. Now, this game does go for kind of a bit of a good chunk of money, and nowadays it goes for about 155 bucks complete in box, and then going brand new sealed goes for about 270 bucks. If you're a Capcom fan and a Capcom fighting game fan at that, please make sure you get this game in your collection, because I'm telling you right now, this game may go up in price throughout the years.
Number 8.
Now, coming in to claim the number 8 spot on this list is every gamer's dream of having in their collection, especially for the Dreamcast itself. This game came out back in 2001 and it's called Ill Bleed, and it was developed and published by Crazy Games in Japan, but in the US it was actually published by Amusement Interface Associate, otherwise known as AIA for short. The game will follow the girl Riko Christie, who is a high school student looking for her friends in this horror-themed amusement park that they were able to get tickets for. And going through 6 different haunted house attractions that were based on fictional horror films, you're going to be seeing different hidden traps, then enemies that will even also come out and either cause harm or frighten Riko and her friends. Going through the different attractions, you will eventually start to find your friends and then use them throughout the attractions as well, and using their strengths and weaknesses throughout the game. Now, the game does have some issues with it because it wasn't considered the best kind of game possible, especially coming out after Sega's discontinuation of the Dreamcast, so it got mixed reviews as well for its B-movie horror quality, and the controls were not the greatest as well. Even the Xbox port was supposed to happen, and that got canceled. The game does also focus on things where, to avoid the hazards that will be coming out at you, you have sensory feedback where you can hear, sight, using your sixth sense and sense of smell that will help you avoid different potential hazards that will go through the game as well. The game itself does have some crazy creatures in it that will be popping out at you, causing you physical harm in so many ways, and causing that psychological horror that will make you just lose your mind and maybe not even let you go to sleep at night after you play this game. If you're looking for this game to add into your collection, it's gonna round off about 235 bucks complete in box if you find it on eBay or Amazon. Or if you're looking for a brand new to add into your collection, it goes for almost 310 bucks. So make sure you got the moolah to get this game into your collection. But if you're a survival horror fan, make sure you get this, and hopefully we may even get this as a remake one day, or at least a remaster.
Number 7.
And by that sound, Capcom decided to use the stand to punch his way into the number 7 spot on this list. And let me tell you, if you're an anime fan and a fighting game fan, this is the game you gotta have into your collection. This is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure that was released in the arcades back in 1998, and then was ported over to the consoles, which were the PlayStation 1 and the Dreamcast in 1999. Now, the game follows behind the main story arc, the third one specifically, called Stardust Crusaders, that follows into the manga and also the anime. And let me tell you, the anime is absolutely stellar. If you haven't watched the anime, please go back and watch that if you're an anime fan. Again, it's just over the top craziness. The game has all types of different characters from the series, such as Dio, Brando, Joseph, Joestar, Jotaro Kujo, and many of the others that are in here. And the inclusion of the game having something called stands, or otherwise known as like their kind of personas that they use to fight in this game, makes the game that much more unique and just overly colorful. The game does possess certain different versions of the quality of style of gameplay because of the fact, well, they wanted to get it close to arcade as best as possible. So porting it over wasn't an easy task. The PlayStation 1 version of the game that came out was based on something called JoJo's Venture, which was a different version of the game back in the day, and it features additional characters from the second version of the arcade game and an exclusive mode called Super Story Mode, which covers the entire Stardust Crusaders story arc. Now, in the Dreamcast version that was also released, both the original and the revised versions of the arcade game were put into their original forms. And usually a lot of people do consider the Dreamcast version the better version if you want to play this game. Now also, it did get a actual high definition port that was put onto PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 back in the day in 2012. And afterward, it actually even got an online multiplayer, which made the game that much more fun. So if you wanted to beat the crap out of your friends, this was a great way to do it. It also had some advanced and graphical filters that made the game look much more colorful than it was back in the day. The game was unfortunately delisted off the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Live Arcade storefronts in September 11, 2014, but we did get a full-blown, you can say even a remake, which was called All-Star Battle, that was ported to different consoles then. If JoJo doesn't make you just want to play this game alone because if you're an anime guy or gal even, the fighting game mechanics of this really just is outstanding, and it's pretty close to what arcade style, whichever version you decide to get your hands on. But if you want the Dreamcast one and you want close to arcade as possible, get the Dreamcast version. This game will set you back a pretty penny nowadays, where it goes for about 185 bucks complete in box. And if you're looking for sealed, still to this very day, goes for about 375 bucks. It's actually gone down from the last time I've seen it, but let me tell you, being a collector, you gotta make sure you get this game into your collection. You can play the new version, but there's nothing like the original. And being that, hey, it's Capcom, what else could you possibly ask for? Check out JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on the Dreamcast.
Number 6.
Man, Capcom just wants to take all the spots on this list, and guess what? They're taking the number 6 spot on here with a game I know everybody who ever played this game will have a burst of nostalgia hitting them. And for those of you who don't know this game, you get a brief lesson on it right now. This game here is called Power Stone, and it's a 3D fighting game that was made by Capcom that was released in the arcades and released to Dreamcast the same exact year. Heck, it even spawned an anime TV series that ran between April and September of 1999. So obviously this game must have been that good to get an anime TV series. The game still has the same basic mechanics as 1v1 battles that you'll be fighting against each other, but the game gets kind of crazy on the battlefield. You got these power gems, or otherwise known as the power stones, that you'll be gathering on here, and once you gain all 3 of them, you'll turn into a super powered version of yourself, and you'll have these special attacks and just go all out. But as you use those attacks, your power meter begins to fade, and then you'll go back to your normal self. They have a wide cast of characters you saw, like Ryoma, Edward Falcon, Wang Tang, Gunrock is really cool. It's just a wide cast of characters with the unique fighting styles and techniques that just makes the game so much more fun as you go and play with all the different characters and playing with your friends. Nowadays, this game is getting a lot of play in some type of form or fashion because of the fact that, well, you can play it on different types of systems now, where you can get the chance to play it even on the PlayStation Portable, and even garnered a sequel called Power Stone 2 that came out years afterward. Nowadays, this game is kind of still sought after in some type of form or fashion, and if you're looking for this to add into your collection, it's going to set you back a little bit of money. Power Stone nowadays go for about 155 bucks in complete in box, and if you're looking for it brand new, it almost goes up to about $300 nowadays. But overall, the game is really solid. It's colorful, it's fast-paced, it's got a lot going on for it. If you got friends and you guys just want to duke it out, this is the game to go for. It's kind of like a Smash Brothers if you want to think about it, but for the Dreamcast. Check it out if you ever get a chance to find this game and you can get it into your collection.
Number 5.
Guess who's back coming into the top half at this list, kicking his way into the number 5 spot. And let me tell you, Capcom wants you to know all about these hands and feet by taking you back to school with this 3D fighter called Project Justice, or otherwise known as Project Justice Rival Schools 2. This is a direct sequel to the original game called Rival Schools United by Fate that was released on the PlayStation. And this game was originally in the arcades back in 2000 and ported to the Dreamcast in 2001. Now, they did make some noticeable changes into this game where they actually put in 3v3 battles instead of 2v2, which is a big step up, especially with some chaoticness to it all. They also added something called the Party Up, which is a 3-person attack that varies based on what school the character is initiating the attack from. So depending on where you're at location-wise, or even with whoever characters you're with, can dramatically affect the attack and what it can be. There's also this unique ability where you can cancel the opponent's attack by doing an input command in there as well that will stop the attack from ever hitting you, so you can bounce back into the game really quickly. These attacks can dramatically change the flow of battle in all types of different ways, and depending on which vigor your meter is actually at, which it can be level 2 or level 5 all the way up to where you can either cancel the attack or do massive damage to your opponent throughout each fight. This game literally has so much going for it. Its colorful cast of characters, the unique art style in some type of way, also just the dramatic change in fighting styles for each character, with some having a weapon in their hand, or to use taekwondo or jiu-jitsu, or just a straight brawler makes the game that much better. The vigor meter in this game used to be around 9, but now it's gone down to 5 for whatever their reason as to why they did that. Don't really know exactly what they did that, but in other words, it makes the game still just overly fun to play. This game does take place 1 year after the events of the original game, where Batu and the cast of characters like Hinata and Kinosuke also make their return as well. And there's a new villain in this game called Kuro, who is an assassin that wants to just cause dramatic chaos. So now they're bouncing back into the fight and stopping this from ever happening, along with making sure that their relationship doesn't get destroyed in the process because of the conspiracy of this deadly assassin. I hope one day Rival Schools gets the true love it deserves by getting a new game into the franchise, but unfortunately we may not see this, but we can still have hope with it, especially now that Capcom's fighting division is all going straight out from the gate, and now with Street Fighter 6 there might be some type of hope. Nowadays, if you want to get this game, it goes complete in box for about $180, but if you're looking for it brand new, it goes for a whopping $500. Which is crazy. I don't even remember Rival Schools going out for this type of price range. If you never played Project Justice or Rival Schools, check those games out. Of course, the original game is on PlayStation, but both of these games are absolutely phenomenal. And if you're a big fan of 3D fighters, especially coming from Capcom, make sure you get this into your collection, and I promise you, you're not going to be missing out. You're really going to enjoy this fighter. When I was putting this list together, I knew I had to put in at least one classic shmup from the Dreamcast back in the day, and let me tell you, I knew this one was going to be a hot one for a lot of different people on the nostalgia list, and this game is none other than Giga Wing. It was developed by the Takumi Corporation and published by Capcom back in 1999 for the arcades, and then ported to the Dreamcast shortly thereafter. And this game is considered a classic shmup that a lot of people still look forward to this very day for collectors. It was using a horizontal aligned monitor back in the day when it was on the arcade, which was kind of rare for a vertical shooter to be using, kind of similar to what Radiant Silvergun developed by Treasure was. And in this game, it's set in the fictional war in the steampunk era, and you get to choose between one of 4 ships and their character, and they all have their unique storyline to go along with it. In this game here, you'll be able to shoot all types of different ships, go against all types of different bosses, blow up everything in sight, gain these medallions to increase your score, and just have an overall blast, just doing whatever you want to do in the sense of shooting. The game gets crazy intense and shows almost no mercy to the player, and it even has a team up mode, so if you have any issues you can bring a friend along with you, kind of like what I used to do back in the day when I was a kid. In this game here, the story has a unique, kind of interesting way of playing where each of the characters have their unique story, and they even have 2 different endings. One bad ending where you can actually kamikaze and sacrifice your life, or even a good ending where, you know, anything could possibly happen. I don't want to spoil that for you guys. In this game here, each of the ships have their very unique shooting style and way the bomb will blow up, and the whole story is basically you're trying to stop this stranger who controls the medallion that is responsible for the war that's going on in the game entirely. You have Stuck, Ryanosuke, and Ruby, and one other character. And let me tell you, the game gets overly just fun to play over the past few years that has been going out. It's actually been developed on another console as well. It's been released on PlayStation, and it looks a lot better than it used to back in the day. But of course, the classic Dreamcast version of it, if you want it on console, is the best way to go, in my own opinion. Bombs and drops will come out from every type of ship, especially if you're going just crazy on the screen. And let me tell you, overall, the game is still something truly remarkable to get if you want it into your collection. Nowadays, the game still shoots up for a lot of money, and if you're looking for this complete in box, you're going to be looking for it about $145 or so if on eBay. And if you're looking for this brand new, you can be going between $180 to even close to $200 nowadays. If you like classic shmups, this is one that you want to make sure you add to your list of games that you want to play and add into your collection. Check out Giga Wing.
Number 3.
Capcom presents.
We're finally cracking into the top 3, and coming in third on this list is a Capcom fighter that everyone knows to this very day is considered probably one of the holy grails, if not the holy grail of fighters. If you've never played it in your life, you are missing out on one of the greatest fighting games to ever exist. This game has literally had so many ports, it's not even funny. It has been even by Arcade 1UP to have its own arcade machine in modern day to be built for itself. And it spanned over 12 years of just being ported to different consoles. This is Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes, and it's a crossover fighting game that was revolutionary for so many people and so many games alike. And it's the reason why pretty much this series has taken off so well that other crossover fighting games have even existed to this very day. Now, in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you literally have a full-blown cast of characters coming from every different type of fighting game or just overall Capcom and Marvel character storyline possible. You got Doctor Doom, Venom, Spider-Man, you have Sakura from Street Fighter, Ryu from Street Fighter as well, Mega Man's in here, Iron Man has made his appearance, Hulk. I mean, literally the full-blown cast of characters in this game is just absolutely amazing. And to this very day, this game gets so much love and attention because of just how great and smooth the game was. Being on the Dreamcast was considered probably the best way to play this game, unless you got an arcade machine, and that's a whole different type of story we're going to jump into. But this is considered one of the greatest games of all time, period. And for the fact of just how the game plays makes it so just fast-paced, ecstatically fun for so many fans around the world. Not even just for fighting game fans, but video gamers alike just really thoroughly enjoy this game. You have 3v3 battles that you can switch out your character at any time as long as they still have some health on their meter. You have a full-blown super meter that's on the bottom of the screen that goes up, and as you beat your opponent and you getting up to max level, you can unleash a super ultra attack with all 3 of your party members in it. I mean, the game gets crazy. This game is featured in a bunch of different tournaments, especially like Evo, where it gets entirely intense for so many fans that just scream for joy about how crazy this game gets, especially for those who are in tournament play. The game has a single player mode and has multiplayer mode, and there's boss fights in here as well. You can team up whichever way you want to. You can put whatever characters you want to put together and just make some crazy combinations for yourself. And I mean, it really just gets crazy on there just because of how fast-paced the game will become when you get entirely good at it. The game has been ported over to the PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Dreamcast, PS3, and has its own arcade machine like I mentioned before. And I mean, at this point in time, it can be played on just about anything, including even a cell phone. It's just the way it is nowadays. The full cast of characters makes it that much more diverse in how you want to play the game and how fast it can become. Overall, this game has been going through circulation and has been locked up for so long due to licensing agreements for music and the characters themselves. Now, if you're looking for this game complete in box, you're going to be sitting around $160 to $170. And if you're going to try to find it brand spanking new, still in this plastic wrap, you're going to be spending a whopping $530 to even $550 for it. I mean, the game is great, but there's so many other ways to play it nowadays. You really don't have to go brand spanking new unless you're just that kind of guy or gal who wants to have it completely sealed in their collection. Check out Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on literally any platform you can possibly find it for. And if you've never played it to this very day, make sure you get your hands on it, especially if you're a fighting game fan and you've never experienced the greatness of what this game has to offer for you. Check out Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes.
Number 2.
And by the sound of that intro, that means a blue hedgehog is speeding his way and taking the number 2 spot onto this list. And if you are a huge Sonic Adventure fan, this sequel was really something that you wanted to play right when it dropped on the store shelves back in the day in 2001. This is Sonic Adventure 2, and this was the sequel to the original game, and they really went all out into the sequel compared to the first game. And the first game was really, really good. The first Sonic Adventure was considered one of the best Sonic games, if not the best Sonic game at the time when it first came out for the Sega Dreamcast. Sonic Adventure 2 showed off Sonic's new skills, his new look, his new shoes, and some new characters were even shown off into this game. There's a good versus evil storyline that comes into play where you can play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in the story of good, and in the evil category, the new character Shadow along with Rouge the Bat and Dr. Eggman were going to be in there as well if you wanted to play on the evil side. And you should, because, well, you kind of have to in order to really get the full experience of the game. It has multi-directional shooting for a lot of Tails and Eggmans, action-adventure exploration for Knuckles and Rouge, and of course the good old-fashioned speed running through everything with Sonic and Shadow himself. This game went into development for quite some time back in 1999 afterward and came out about 18 months afterwards. Sonic Adventure 2 was the last Sonic the Hedgehog game ever to come out for a Sega console because of the fact that the Sega Dreamcast was discontinued, and it received very good positive reviews, although it did have some criticism for the camera, which I wasn't too much of a fan of. Some of the voice acting was actually decent, but it wasn't to the overall quality that a lot of people probably were expecting. But there were even some cool improvements like improved textures and multiplayer options along with the game. Together overall, they even gave it a port over to the GameCube, which was called Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which was supposed to be a new enhanced version of the game. And there was even a downloadable version of the game that came out for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows back in 2012. Sonic Adventure 2 was pretty much the staple of what Sonic Adventure games should have been like in all types of different ways. And to this very day, Sonic Adventure 2 is still considered one of the best Sonic games to ever exist on the planet. Heck, if it wasn't for Sonic Adventure 2 and its predecessor, we wouldn't have some of the great Sonic games that we have to this very day, like Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, and Sonic Frontier, which has been probably one of the best Sonic games ever made, period. But we're not going to talk about Sonic 06. We all know what that was and why that game should not be considered a Sonic classic to this very day. All due to Sonic Adventure 2 is considered, in my own opinion, one of the best games to ever hit consoles and to hit the Dreamcast, period. If you've never played Sonic Adventure 2, you can get this game still now to this very day off of eBay. And if you want to get this game into your collection, it goes for about $110 complete in box. And if you're looking for it brand new, still sealed in this packaging, you're going to be spending about $300 or so to get your hands on it. Get a chance to experience Sonic Adventure 2 if you've never seen it before, and get to experience Shadow's overall introduction to the series, and just, hey, guess what? It's a Sonic Adventure game. Who doesn't love Sonic nowadays? Check out Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast.
Number 1.
We finally reached the top spot on this list, and taking the number 1 spot is going to be a game that I don't think too many people really know about, or unless you really are deep into the Capcom library of games. This is called Cannon Spike, or otherwise known as Gun Spike back in Japan, and it's a multi-directional shooter arcade game that was released back in 2000, developed by Psycho and published by Capcom. It uses Capcom design style characters, and it plays similar to games like Smash TV and Capcom's Commando, but it primarily focuses on boss fighting. It was one of the last games, if not the last game, that was released on the Dreamcast back in Europe, and it was exclusively sold in game outlets only. Now, you get to see different characters in this game, such as Charlie from the Street Fighter Alpha series. You also get to see Cammy from Street Fighter 2, and the game was actually named behind one of her attacks in all of the Street Fighter games that she plays in. Also, Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins makes an appearance. You get to see Mega Man, who's actually a hidden character. Sheba, who was actually made from 3 Wonders, who was made exclusively for this game itself. And also Baby Bonnie Hood, that was coming from the Stalker series as well. The game is a multi-directional shooter that kind of wasn't too great on the sense of camera, and being that it was only 1 stick on the Dreamcast controller, it wasn't the greatest in the sense of control scheme, but there is a way to lock onto different enemies so you can kind of keep on focus and making sure that your attacks actually hit. The boss fights get pretty intense, but you can use special attacks and super moves to down your enemies very, very quickly. The overall game can become very fast-paced, and you can actually change the level of the actual difficulty for how the boss fights may go or how many enemies may actually come out. Unlocking the different characters like Mega Man, Bonnie Hood, since they're hidden characters, you can see if you can find those as you play through the game. And the game gets repetitively pretty much fun overall, but it can get sometimes boring as you may go through each level and seeing the same type of enemies over and over and over again repeatedly. There is a 2-player mode as well in this game as well, so you can bring a buddy with you to play. Overall, the game is really expensive due to the fact that I don't think too many copies were made for this game, and a lot of people don't know that this game even exists to begin with because of that reason. This is one of the most expensive games on the Dreamcast for a lot of other reasons other than just that, well, it's a Capcom game, but because of the actual exclusivity behind Street Fighter characters and Darkstalkers kind of having a crossover in some type of way. If you're looking to add Cannon Spike into your collection, it's gonna be really heavy on the money side if you're looking for it. It goes for about $290, if not almost $300, complete in box, and if you're looking for it brand spanking new, it's gonna round off about $500. I've even seen it go up even higher than that. If you really want to add this holy grail into your collection, make sure you try to grab it before it goes up in price, because I can see this game may go up sooner rather than later. There's a possibility that we may get maybe a remaster or a remake one day, but it's kind of a low chance of it. Check out Cannon Spike if you ever get your hands on it. Yes, you are. You're my baby. Yes, you are. The precious baby. Oh, hey. Look, we're just gonna act like y'all didn't see that, all right? Y'all just don't even mind me. Real quick, going into the system, the Dreamcast was one of my favorite systems growing up all the time, and it was such a great system to have back in the early 2000s. If you had one of these, you were one of the big boys on the block. I mean, the quality of games and the library of games that this thing had were really just special games to have, but the real big thing about the Dreamcast was the capabilities of this thing. And it was so far ahead of its time. It was able to go online, which was a big thing. It was one of the first systems to even do such a thing. And on top of that, you can even play burned games on here. So if you had a buddy that had a game that you didn't want to spend $50 or $60 for, you can have them burn it. And of course, that was federal offense piracy, but hey, look, nobody really cared at that time period. Overall, other than that as well, it was these things. This is the VMU, which was a cool memory card that you had, and it go by blocks, not like just straight gigs, but blocks. And you can play mini games on this thing, like with Sonic games, the Tegromancer, like I mentioned before. And it was so cool to have this thing. It was just so awesome. And the Dreamcast was just really a special system to have. If you don't have one and you want to be a collector or want to play the games on the original hardware, get a Dreamcast. It's so awesome. And you can find them in different colors. The one I just showed you guys was the Sega Sports one, which is kind of a collector's item. It's hard to find nowadays. But get yourself a Dreamcast if you want to play those games, and just to have one, it's really such a cool system. Other than that, thank you guys for stopping by. I really do appreciate the love and support you guys give me. I promise I won't take 2 months to make a new one. And if you haven't done so and you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I appreciate that. And also hit that bell to let you know when I drop a new video. Overall, thank you guys. Appreciate you. Love yourself. May God bless you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Holla at you later.